Hey everyone, it's Marla, Twinstrology. Thanks for joining me once again today, where we are going to talk about the Spring Equinox for Twin Flames and the energy moving into the Summer Solstice. Before I get to that, I do have a few announcements to make. The first one is I want to thank everybody who has supported us so far with the Kickstarter for the Intuit Twin Flame Oracle. We were able to make our primary goal for the deck within 12 hours, which is just phenomenal. But the Kickstarter will continue for, I think, another 19 days today, which is Saturday, the 13th of March. And, we keep going. We want to try and raise as much as we can because the more that we raise, the more decks we're able to print. This is something that I don't want to just have available during the Kickstarter period, but something that we can continue to offer, into the future. So I am grateful if you're still looking to support that, and just to make you aware that the deck is $20 less for the Kickstarter price than it's going to be in the future. So if it is something that you want to buy and you're kind of on the fence about whether you should buy it during the Kickstarter, because, if you go there, you'll see that we did make the original amount of funding that we were looking for. So if you're considering getting it now or getting it in the future, then just know that there is going to be a price difference. But yeah, thank you so much. The other thing I just wanted to mention real quick, for those of you that are looking to buy readings with me, I just want to make you aware of something because I get a lot of questions on it. When you go to my website and you're looking for services, there's a services tab, but if you hover over it, there's a drop-down menu and you'll see astrology and then tarot. Because what happens is a lot of people click on that and it takes them to my astrology page, and then they just assume that that's all I'm offering, or if they want a card reading, that they have to buy an astrology reading with the card reading. And that's not the case. You can buy a standalone card reading. It's a little bit confusing, and I'm looking to update my website in the near future to correct that. And also, if you're looking to have a QHHT session with me or a BQH session, past life regression, that is not on my services tabs as of yet. But if you search those terms, if you search QHHT or BQH, then it will pull up things that I have posted for you with information about that. And you can always email me too, and you can do that through the contact on my website if you have questions or you need more information. With the QHHT past life regression sessions, it's a little bit easier for you to contact me first before you purchase anyways, because that's something that has to be scheduled, and I want to make sure that I can schedule you in the time frame that meets your expectations before you make the payment to me anyways. But yeah, if you're just looking for basic information about what happens and things, then search that. Okay, now on to the equinox. So the equinox is on March 20th, and this is when the sun enters into the sign of Aries and kicks off the astrological new year. And of course, the equinoxes, the spring and fall equinox, the summer and winter solstice, these are always very important energetic shifts for the ascension process and for twin flames, because twin flames are all ascending. And I talk about the equinox every year, how this is a rebirth, a new beginning, and the importance of the first Sabian symbol, which is the first degree of Aries. For those of you that have never heard me talk about the Sabian symbols before, these are little channeled messages that a psychic developed with an astrologer. And it gives us a little bit more information about what each degree of the zodiac is. So there's something that I like to use a lot just to give a little bit more depth. It's kind of like using oracle cards. And the interesting thing is that when they did this, the psychic that was channeling these messages had no idea of what degree of the zodiac she was using, because the astrologer would just pull out a card, a random card with an astrological degree on it, and wait to get the message from her. I say that's funny because, there's always a synchronicity, and it's amazing how some of the Sabians go with certain dates. So this first degree of Aries is one of those, because the Sabian is a woman has risen out of the ocean, a seal is embracing her. And that just aligns so well with, the beginning, the start of it all, this woman rising out of the sea. Now, if we look at some of the key words here, cycles starting, new beginning, emergence into concrete manifestation, embracing and honoring the shadow, recognizing our animal side, shedding skins, transmutation, grounding one's energy, love and its embrace, finding your feet and your voice. And the cautions of the Sabian symbol are using masculine power to overshadow emotions, refusing to move on, feeling held back by fears and old life patterns, falling into previous unsatisfactory conditions, immobilizing fear of the unknown. So the reason why I am talking about these key words today here, and this, by the way, is a book by Linda Hill that I'm reading these from. Yeah, this is my very tattered copy of this book. Linda Hill has analyzed these Sabians a lot, is because these key words fit perfectly into the energy of the equinox. And this is a cycle that was actually kicked off at the Winter Solstice. And with that shift, what is happening is we receive this activation where we need to go deeper within and start uncovering our subconscious behaviors, patterns, and motivations. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Marla, isn't that what we do all the time? Haven't we been doing that for years? And yes, you have, and you've been doing an outstanding job of that. And now it's time to level up. And in order for you to level up, you need to do some refinement of these energies. Now, something that my guides want to say right away is, as I go through and I talk about some of these things, don't let that trigger you, because by saying that we're going through this other level of healing, it's not knocking all the healing that you've already done, but it does trigger people, because it's like, God, I've done so much work. How much more do I have to do? Well, it's a continuous cycle of healing and growing, but it's because you've done so much of this work that now you're able to take this next step. And it's also because there was a third eye activation that happened, especially with Mercury retrograde. That was really the kind of pivotal point for these third eye activations. And so that has allowed all of us to get even deeper insight into ourselves. So what we're talking about here is, like I said, really minor refinements where you've been carrying something that you haven't been able to see. It's been so deeply buried within you that it's been flying under the radar. But, this is a new cycle of manifestation. Obviously something that we started, it's something that's been in continuous cycle, really, if we're honest, But every year when we come to this Aries point and we start the new astrological new year and we kick off this new cycle, it, elevates the energy of that manifestation process more. And because of all the shifts that we've been going through, the number of people awakening, the continued expansion of our consciousness, our ability to manifest things is just growing and growing and growing. And that's why it's so important for us to do this refinement, to really reach this place of emotional stability, so that the things that we're creating is in alignment with the things that we really want. So some of this has already been channeled through, especially the last two Sacred Union readings I did. The last one was called Planetary Shifts Create Triggers, and I will link that here. If you haven't watched that, you may want to. Why this energy is so important for twin flames is because energetically, more and more twin flames are embodying the energy of union. Even though you're not physically together and you're still trying to manifest that union, energetically the connection's there. That 5D has come down. Let's say it's like in the fourth dimensional realm. Therefore, there's a lot of mirroring going on. Like the mirroring is off the charts right now. Things like the telepathy are off the charts because that union is coming down. It is grounding. But yeah, what's happening is the projections are so strong on both sides, and then the other person mirrors them, and what happens is that the dynamic just goes back and forth, and it's hard to get that grounding to really push it forward. So what the guides are wanting us to do is, by refining and doing this inner work, seeing those hidden motivations, if you will, then you witness your projections, and then you don't have to project that onto your person anymore. So this is going to sound a little bit cruel, but what I heard when I was getting the downloads for this information was, give them nowhere to hide. And what the guides were meaning by that is, because of the union energies and the projections and the things being so similar, that when you're both projecting the issue, then it's like you're both doing the negative behavior or the negative pattern. And if you're doing it, you kind of enable your twin to do that too, because they're mirroring you in a lot of ways. But when you confront that projection and you clear it, then you clear it for them as well. And it's not going to be immediately. In most cases, it's not going to be like, okay, I cleared that, now you have to stop doing that. But it's like when you clear that pattern or behavior, the other person is drawn less to that, or less and less they're keyed into doing that, and then they will clear it as well. And so what I'm seeing is that the physical love, the physical aspects of the dynamic can't really ground into the third dimension until this energy is more aligned. And now for some of you, it's going to be realizations that help your energy align more with your desires. So I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh God, triggers. And my last video did mention triggers. For some of you, it will. But I guess what I want to say is, don't assume that it's going to be a negative energy, because sometimes triggers happen and they give us that realization, that wake-up call. And that's why our third eyes have been opening, like I said, so that we can make these realizations. It doesn't have to be negative. I'll give you an example for myself. A around the winter solstice, I weighed myself, and it was the most I've ever weighed, and that was a bit of a trigger for me. At the same time, I had a bunch of realizations and downloads that came from that trigger, and I've made some subtle changes in the things I'm doing, very positive changes, and that weight is just melting off of me right now, and I've lost 12 pounds since the beginning of January without struggle. And this is weight that I've been struggling to lose for 6 years. And instead of losing weight, it's just gone up and up and up. But what happened was I had, first of all, a bunch of hidden motivations that were affecting that. I also had a bunch of false belief systems. Things like I have to eat a high protein diet and a low carb diet in order to lose weight. I have to do a lot of cardio in order to lose weight. And those are things that I don't enjoy. So when I made that switch in my belief system, and one of the things my guides told me was, if you want to lose weight, then you have to make a plan that you enjoy. And that's what I did. And it's been like no effort, and the weight has just melted away, like I said, without feeling like I'm struggling or sacrificing. It's just happening. So there's an example of how a trigger can be something positive and then helps you align and manifest something that you've been wanting. Another example for me, around the winter solstice, I decided to get Invisalign because I had some crooked teeth, and I had trained myself since I was young not to smile because I was embarrassed by my teeth. So the time has come where that is no longer in alignment with my energy. I'm a happy person, and I want to smile, and I want to project that happiness onto other people. So it's time for me to let that energy go and make this change. So there's another example of a realization that I had that has now afforded positive change to help me align with my future and the things that are coming into my future. So yeah, it's not all going to be negative, guys. Another thing that I want to mention here is a lot of you are going to be dealing with things like emotional repression, where you've been repressing things, and that's what's causing you not to be in alignment. And what is being shown to me a lot is CPTSD, chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. And you'll see a lot of people talking about that on YouTube. But I think a piece that people don't talk about is that we can have chronic post-traumatic stress syndrome from past lives. And especially the more that we awaken and the more that we become multidimensional, the more that our dormant DNA is activated, the more these traumas begin to awaken within us. Now, these are deeply, deeply embedded subconscious motivations based on the emotional reactions that you had to traumas and how those have developed into your patterns and how you're still replaying those patterns now. Because they're so deeply embedded, like, it is very, very hard to see these things within ourselves. But it's really a miracle and a blessing for us to now reach this state where we can see these things. So chronic post-traumatic stress happens when you have a lot of small triggers. When we think of traditional traumatic stress syndrome, there's usually one major trigger, right? And when you experience those triggers, then you have a flashback. Well, with chronic, you have a bunch of small triggers. And so the emotions are activated. You have these emotional flashbacks, and you don't realize that they're coming from something in your past because there is no one specific trigger that's giving you the realization that it's there. So, like I said, a lot of people talk about this on YouTube in the mental health field because so many people suffer with this. And really, I think everybody can be a candidate for this, but especially twin flames who are here to break through templates and heal their, their earthly karma. There's a lot of struggles, especially in childhood. A lot of people have faced different types of abusive situations, but also, and this often is something that goes under the radar, being a light worker and a starseed and a twin flame, you're liable to be a highly sensitive person. And when you're a little child and you're highly sensitive, it doesn't take much to have a traumatic experience. Someone can yell at you, and that can create that trauma response. And I think it's important, especially for our inner children, that we honor ourselves and we honor those trauma responses, both coming from this life and other lifetimes and how these things are merging. But yeah, because we're so multidimensional now and we're merging all these different versions of ourselves, it's important for us to go in and get a handle on this. So these repressed emotions take you into the patterns of flight and fight, which many of you know, but some of you may not know the patterns of freeze and fawn. And this is going to affect us in lots of different areas of our life. One of the things that we do when we have these emotional flashbacks, and I think, I'm talking about this one in particular because I think it's very, very common for starseeds to have, and that's disassociation. And today is the Pisces new moon, and Pisces is the sign that is really associated with this type of disassociation. And it can be, something like soul fragmentations and disassociating with aspects of ourselves. And it can also manifest as when we have those emotional flashbacks, we try to disassociate from the emotions, which sometimes takes us into a disassociation from reality, or we want to try to escape from reality. So things like daydreaming, avoidance, like trying to avoid certain things that aren't comfortable for us. And it could be something like avoiding things that are too 3D. I'm personally, I don't like to do things that are 3D, like, things that relate to math or something like that. I don't enjoy doing those things, so I do tend to avoid them. It can be disassociating from our emotions in general. And when our emotions want to come up, doing everything we can to disassociate, that might take the form of drinking or alcohol or some other behavior pattern that is not healthy for us. We can disassociate and not be grounded in our bodies, and this can really happen to light workers. And it's something that I'm always struggling with, how to stay grounded in my body. There's a lot of reasons why we don't want to be in our body, but one of those can be emotions. It can also be trauma. And maybe just like you get used to being in that kind of floaty energy, but that's not always good for our physical body to be in that state. So if this is something that's resonating with you guys, let me know and I can try to do some videos on it, some techniques that I've used to help myself work through some of these issues, or maybe I could have someone come on to help me talk about these things that's more qualified than me. I'm not a psychologist, obviously. But one of the miracles that we are blessed with as being twin flames and light workers is that we get so much spiritual support in our healing that it's actually pretty easy for us to heal things. And we just need to have that awareness and that intention. And it's like the things that we need, just we draw them forward into our energy field to help us. It is a time where past life memories can be surfacing for everybody as well. And I mentioned earlier that telepathy is increasing, and especially at this Pisces new moon, these are the types of energies that are very strong. The new moon is conjunct Neptune. Venus is conjunct Neptune right now. So, but because of that telepathy, that's just another way that mirroring energy is being activated. It was so funny the other day, if some of you guys follow me on Instagram, I've been posting daily messages from your beloved type readings with my new cards. And I posted one yesterday. It was a message from the Divine Feminine to the Divine Masculine, and the card this situation is being caused by both of us. Look at your own role in order to help us change that. That card came out before I even started the video. I was shuffling the cards. It fell out. I put it back in. I did the reading. It came out. I put it back in, drew another card, or I meant to draw another card. That card came out again. Put it back in, shuffled, and pulled that same card again. So that's just like a major confirmation for everybody about how this mirroring is happening between twins right now and how really powerful it is. So think about what it is you want your twin to mirror back to you, and try to do your best to be in that energy. I think, as I said in my pick a card reading, which was another instance of the idea of mirroring and projection came up, I think, in almost every reading out of those three. It was a big factor because it's so prominent in the energy. So yeah, it's doing this refinement so that what you're projecting is what you want to be mirrored back to you. It's the good stuff and not these, old energies. Now, this energy is really going to peak at the Libra Full Moon, which is happening on March 28th. And it's going to be super powerful. I've mentioned it a few times already in the readings. But you're going to have the Sun, Venus, and Chiron all on the 8th degree of Aries opposing the Moon at 8 degrees of Libra. This is going to be intense energy, guys, and it's going to kick off a new Venus-Chiron cycle. And I'm being shown that this cycle relates to our ability to trust. Now, whenever Venus and Chiron come together, it's difficult because obviously Venus is our ability to love and Chiron is our soul wound. And a lot of what's being carried in our Chiron has to do with unrequited love and rejection and abandonment. And so when these two come together, it brings an activation for you to release heartbreak and grief and loss so that you can remove another layer of your armor. Because ultimately, Chiron, it is our wound, but it's also our healing. And Chiron is so important to our multidimensionality and our ascension process. So they help us let go of those energies. They help us clear control, and they help us move even deeper into a state of surrender. But coupled with the full moon like this, we know that this is going to be an intense clearing, and you're going to want to keep yourself as balanced as possible. And if you're working on your emotions and you're working on your inner refinements, like the point of doing that is to help you move into a place of emotional stability. If you have planets in the first half of the cardinal signs, so 0 to 15 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, then that full moon is going to be extra powerful for you as well. Actually, let me go back a minute, because there was some things about the equinox that I didn't finish talking about. I started talking about the sun moving into Aries, and as the sun does that, it's coming into a conjunction with Chiron. So already it's preparing to activate that wound. Of course, we have Saturn and Uranus continuing their square, which is helping us bring change and move out of our old patterns. And I think so Saturn's on the Sabian. During a silent hour, a man receives a new inspiration which may change his life, which I think goes along with this energy perfectly, because that's what we're doing. We're receiving new inspiration so that we can make these changes in our life that we've been trying so hard to make. We also have, on the day of the equinox, the moon is moving over the North Node. And the North Node are on very important Sabian symbols as well. The one for the North Node is two people at widely different points are in conversation with each other by means of telepathy. So again, we have this nod to telepathy and connection. And you know what I'm really getting about twins is most of you, most of us, do not realize the amount of energetic connection that's there, especially now at this stage where, you know, the energy is moving down and it's getting closer. And we need to be aware of this, the depth of the connection. So I'm going to read a couple of the key words here. Conquering space and time limitations, psychic and mental communication, sharing and thinking the same ideas, knowing what is felt or thought by others, feeling connected regardless of physical contact, being on the same frequency. Telepathy, mind reading, direct lines. The caution here is blocking out sensitive awareness for the sake of social needs or expectations. Now, you can block some of this telepathy if you're not being open to it. If your heart is really shut down to your twin, then you can block some of this. Mind and thought control, manipulating by subtle means, losing contact, not getting the message, not seeing eye to eye. So there are some kind of cautions there. Remember, the Sabians also apply to the collective energies. And manipulations that might be happening by the service to self segment of the population. Now the South Node is on the Sabian. A vast panorama of sand and time is unfolding. The pyramids and the Sphinx and their glory rise before the eye. So now this is a very magical one, but it's very, very connected to this past life energy. And remember, it is our South Node, which is the past. So that's why I'm saying too that past lives are surfacing. I'm getting a lot of messages about the divine masculine, getting a lot of past life understanding and images, and tapping into some of their past life knowledge at this time. So some of the key words here: the power of the past affecting today's world, spiritual ancestries, decoding, magicians and prophets, secret messages or tricks of perception, Egyptian things, levels of power, the rich versus poor, the American monetary system, world finance, architects, builders. So some of those don't apply, but just as I'm reading them, I'm thinking, well, they certainly apply to the collective segment if they're not specifically applying to twin flames. But of course, we're part of that collective energy of the governmental shifts and the monetary shifts. Cautions here, aloofness through perceived superiority, anonymity of the masses, slave labor. So, all right, so some of those keywords talk more in a general sense, where what I'm getting is it's not just connecting to past lives, but for many of you, it's connecting to your Egyptian past lives. And light workers and almost all twin flames have had past lifetimes in Egypt, because that's where we all went through our initiation process. And as we're ascending, as that third eye is opening more, we connect more and more with the knowledge and wisdom that we gain during those initiation processes. So we also have Venus squaring Union and Juno, which I talked about in my video that I did for asteroid transits for twin flames. So that energy there is activating, and that energy, remember, is trying to bring twins into union. Another one that I talked about was Vesta being square the nodes, which she still is in her retrograde, and at the time of the equinox, she's opposing Mercury. And I feel like this is creating another activation. Remember, she's bringing about purification, especially of the sexual energies. So that was something that I mentioned in that video. And it's something that I've seen people that I'm working with dealing with. But let me know if that's something that's come up for you. But there's also activations for mission there, and just an overall purification process. Okay, so let me go back to the Libra full moon now. I am going to talk a little bit about this here because probably won't have time to make a video about that one unless some more information comes up. Then of course I'll share it with you guys. But I wanted to read the Sabian symbols here. So the one for the Sun, Venus, and Chiron, a seer gazes intently into a crystal ball before him. Flashes of inspiration, looking within for answers, creative visualization, seeking perfection, clairvoyance, deep insights, looking ahead to see the signs, not seeing symbolic messages, looking this and that way, but not in the center, getting lost in the big picture, daydreaming and ignoring what's really going on, obsessing over what may happen, needing to know what's coming up, being impatient. So the reason why I'm reading these Sabian symbols to you is because they collaborate the energy that I'm picking up on here with this. So yeah, I feel this energy is probably reaching its peak at the equinox and the Libra full moon, but it will continue to be with us until the summer solstice. Now, at the end of May, we have a full moon lunar eclipse and Mercury's going retrograde. So really what we're doing, these energies are becoming a little bit more intense now because we're preparing for that eclipse energy, because those eclipses coupled with the summer solstice are bringing about, that leveling up process. So the more that we can clear up now, the more stability we're going to have when that shift comes. Now, I feel like this energy is really trying to clear up communications issues and authenticity between twin flames. And I'm sure that you can see how these things that I've been talking about are interfering with communication. And a lot of it has to do with our projections. And we're we need to bring these projections into alignment so that the communication can open, or if you have open communication, it can become more authentic. And I want you guys to pay attention to what is happening around the equinox to the Libra full moon, because what is going on for you, you're likely to be revisiting during Mercury retrograde, because Mercury is making a conjunction with Neptune, so he's starting a new cycle, and then in his retrograde, he's going to be making a square to Neptune. There are going to be some activations too, I feel, after the Libra full moon, so probably a few days to a week after. You may want to be prepared because you might be having some physical activations, and you may just want to plan time to rest. Another thing that's happening at the Libra full moon, going back to the nodes, you're going to have Mars on the north node, and then Mars is making a trine. I should say Mars in the north node is making a trine with Saturn and the moon. They're in a sextile to the sun, Chiron, and Venus. And I feel like this is going to bring about rapid change. So, that is something to look forward to. And we really want to be in our best possible position to bring in these changes. So don't fear them. Don't be afraid of triggers, okay? Because think about the emotional stability and the self-empowerment that is resulting from all of this energy. It's really important, I think, in the month of March and maybe the beginning of April, because of those activations I mentioned, to practice good self-care. And that's one of the best things that we can do for ourselves to help with our emotional stability, is to get good sleep, eat right, get that alone time, that meditation time, do some yoga and get your body moving, get out in nature. And that can really help you, not only help you mitigate anything that's coming up, but it can help make you aware of those realizations. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know how things are going for you. Let me know if you'd like me to do a video that goes deeper into chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, or anything else. Sending you guys a lot of love. Happy astrological new year, and I'll speak to you soon. Namaste.